All right, welcome back to another edition of Logician Tim Learns, where you get to watch me go from a total gaming newbie to a more informed gaming newbie. How about that? Yeah, guys, we're back. We're back Monday with a whole new RPG, and this one I'm like crazy excited about. Look at my camera's so excited it can't stay focused. Come on, dude, stay with me here. There we go. All right, so yeah. We have an awesome RPG, guys. This is one that I've been looking at for a long time, and we finally pulled the trigger on it, got it in, and it is amazing. It's incredible. This is Degenesis by Six More Vodka, and it is absolutely incredible. There's 2 books in this set. It comes with a world book and kind of a core rule book and stuff like that. It is amazing. They have been out for quite a while. You can actually get it. Let me pull up their website for you real quick. Their website's really nice too. Let me see here. There we go. All right. Yeah, this is Six More Vodka website. And if you just type in Six More Vodka or Degenesis into your web browser, this will come up. Or I actually put the link in the description of this video so you can find it there. Yay. Thanks, Tim. No problem. So yeah, they have that. You can get all their stuff from here. Which one do we get? We got the Rebirth edition. Let me pull up this page real quick. Their photography is really nice, you guys. This 2-book series was £99, which comes out to about $117 US dollars. Then of course you got to have shipping and stuff like that. It came in undamaged. Yay, that's a big plus. But yeah, you can get it there. Like I said, it's a 2-book series. And it is just really, really nice. Each book, now these are 3.5 or 8.5 by 11. These are full size, like really nice quality. 8.5 by 11, 351 pages each book. So, and there's 2 books, so that's 702 pages of awesomeness. And that comes out to, so if you divide all that out, $117, give or take, divided by the 702 pages, that comes out to just 17, actually less than 17 cents per page. And this is some of the highest quality that I've ever seen anywhere in anything. It's got to be the highest quality that I've ever seen personally. This stuff is just amazing. The book, flipping through it, of course you got maps on the front and back. The quality and layout design is amazing. It is amazing. And the artwork is incredible. The paper itself has a little bit of a shine to it, but it's not annoying. It's not like The Witcher was. With their paper is so glossy, I couldn't even hardly read it. This is like the perfect amount. It makes the art pop off the page. The graphic design is just amazing. The only thing I like negative I could kind of say is the print is just a little small. Like just give me like one more font size on some of the pages, and that could have helped me out a little bit. But just because I'm an old guy, I like seeing that. What's up, Matt? What's going on, my dude? What's up, Mitchell? Yeah, so this is the one that we're going to be going through. And like I said, I'm just going to flip through it just a little bit. This is the world book, and the art and everything. It's just chock full of awesomeness. It really is. So, and I also have a PDF here too that I'm going to be flipping through as well. So it allows you guys to see a little bit about what I'm seeing. Let me get this up here. And actually, let me go to the 2-page one, because a lot of these pages are on the PDF are kind of 2-page spreads. And so I wanted to kind of show you some of the stuff the way that I see it when you're opening up the book. This is a 2-page spread here, The Jackal's Prophecy. And look at the artwork. Are you kidding me right now? I mean, holy crap. A wild Matt had to appear with this one. Yeah, man, the art is just insane. Yes, this is an art lover's dream for sure. And the writing is pretty incredible too. Yeah, just look at the layout on these pages. I mean, just incredible. And you can see like the logo with the I in Degenesis over here on the far left side. It's actually like the number 4 times. And it opens up the book with this, 4, father, mother, son, and daughter. And it kind of goes through like a little bit of a poem. And then it goes to 8, 8 of the infinite, of he who comes and goes, he with whom everything rises and with whom everything falls. Then it goes to 12, it kind of goes through the little poem there with the 12, and then finally to the 16. And it's just like a cool like series of poems and art just kind of starts you off with this, crazy kind of flavor. And I got to say, the writing kind of reflects that. The writing is almost poetic in nature, and it's not light reading at all. You kind of have to read between the lines a little bit to figure out what they're saying, because it is kind of written in a poetic type style. And so it's really nice. Oh, here you go. Primal Punk is the name of this book, of this first book. And so we're going to be going through this one today, and just look at it. It's just amazing. Matt says, hilariously enough, I want to own this just at least as an art book. Yeah, man, it's awesome. It's $117 for both books. There's a link in the description that you might be able to just buy the Primal Punk book, but I would just go ahead and pick them both up because it's amazing. I can just tell you. So let me let me go back to my page here a little bit, and I can start telling you a little bit about what I'm reading. I feel a sneeze coming on, so you have to deal with it. Yep, here it comes. Bless you. Thank you. All right. So yeah, what's in these two books? All right. They kind of tell us a little bit. They start off with this kind of a crazy short story here, and it's really nutty sounding. And then they kind of tell us, what is Degenesis, what's in the books. And I'm doing this out of order a little bit because it makes more sense to me to do it this way, where it talks about what's in the books. And I guess I could probably just leave the PDF up on some of these for you guys, just because the PDF is so awesome. So yeah, you can see right here, this is the page that I'm actually looking at on the bottom right-hand side. What is in the two books? So Primal Punk, this book right here, it says it ushers the readers into the world of Degenesis. And this is where you're going to get to know the 7 cultures and the 13 cults that are dictating these world affairs, okay? And then the Catharsis is the second book, and I've got it back there. And that book is going to contain the core rules, the regulations of the RPG game. And in that book, it goes over like the character creation, the traits, dice rolls, all that kind of stuff that determines how the players, use their weapons and abilities against all the enemies that you're going to encounter during the game. It also has an almanac in it, which has like super detail from what I'm told, of all the different types of tools available to the player characters, the gears, the weapons, armors, vehicles, different artifacts you might come across, and so much more. So I can't wait to get to that. And then finally, in that other book as well, there's the Forbidden Zone. Whoa, don't look at that. No, this is just, it says it's secret information intended just for the GM. Okay, so players aren't going to read that part. It has like descriptions of and game stats for like the various opponents that you might run into, along with like tips and tutorials, along with, yay, sample campaign for the GM. Something I love. Thank you. Give me a sample campaign so that I can jump in, learn the flavor, and then I can start developing my own. So yeah, the PDF and the core book, the same thing. No, the PDFs, if you go to the website, you'll see they have different stuff for each one. Like I think you can buy, they have ebooks on here. So the PDF, you can get it in PDF format. Actually here, I'll bring it to the webpage. You can get, this is a free preview. You can download a couple of like a free preview. Here's an English one. They're 20 pounds. So that's what, like $25 or so for a Black Atlantic, which is kind of like another type world book. Rebirth, the PDF edition. That's the one I've got right here. I think you get it free with the physical copy. Let me see here. The Killing Game, In Thy Blood. Yeah, a lot of these like are in German, so make sure you pick one in English. The Killing Game, Rising Ravens. These are all additional books, but the Rebirth PDF is what I got. Let's click on that real quick, Matt. Let's see what's in there. What's up, Jake? Good to see you, dude. So this comes with, let's see, the Primal Punk. Yes, this is the one I'm looking at now, and the Catharsis. So this is basically this 2-book set that I have, the physical copies. This is just the PDF versions. And what's that, $39? So say $45 or so dollars, $50 for the PDFs. But it is incredible. You can see the quality is, I want to keep clicking on the wrong one. The quality is just absolutely amazing. So definitely worth it. I would just go ahead, if you have the cash, buy the physical books, and I think you get the PDFs along with it for free. So I can actually check on that, I guess. Well, while we're here, right? Let's check on. Let's see what you get for your money. Let's see if it comes with the PDFs. I hope so. That would be cool. Da-da-da. Okay. Yeah. I don't see where it says PDF versions are included. But I want to say that we did get the PDFs included in ours when Scott got them. I wish he was here. Scott, if you come in, tell me. Danny, what is up, my dude? Guess this is the game that Scott is going to want me to play with him. Yeah, dude, this one is, we're definitely going to be playing this one. I think Scott's already got a campaign kind of lined out. They have this like cool feature where, I don't want to spoil it for anybody, but like where if you're playing, I think this is the one he was telling me about. They'll actually ship out stuff to your players. And so as you're kind of moving along in the campaign, you tell them when you hit certain marks and they're going to ship out stuff to your players to get in the mail. And so like I'll be sitting here one day and I'll just get something in the mail and it's going to have to do with the campaign and the part of the campaign that I'm in, and I'll get stuff in the mail. How cool is that? Yes. Sounds awesome. So yeah, man, this one would be incredible to jump in on for sure. But I don't see anywhere in here that's showing the PDF is included in the physical copy. Maybe when Scott gets on, he'll be able to tell us if the PDF is included or not. So, but yeah, let me get back to it. So, what did I tell you about? What's in the books, right? This book is just the world book. And then secondly, the other book is, the rules and the almanac and, kind of like the GM guide for the most part. So, then the book tells us, okay, what is Degenesis? And that was kind of one of my first things I wanted to know was what is Degenesis? Because there's not much on the front cover. Let me switch over here. Not much art to kind of tell you about. So you just kind of have to go by the artwork when you're flipping through the book. And so they tell us right here at the very beginning, what is Degenesis? And basically Degenesis is the end of the world. An event called Echeton, Eshaton, Echeton, okay, happened. And then fire rained down from the heavens and burned the land, scorching all the people. And it said the planet trembled, heaving in pain like a feverish person in agony. And though the earth endured, it was forever changed. Okay. So basically civilization as we have known it for 10,000 years at this time has been destroyed. So civilization's gone. Those who remained alive scavenged for food and water. And it says that, I love these quotes that they have, because I'm going to be using a lot of the quotes from the book because it's so poetic. It says, free of morals and ethics, and as naive children, they looked upon their devastated world and destroyed landscapes full of toxic restricted areas. So these people are now, that they're not emboldened, they're not like held back by the morals of civility. Now it's just all about survival. And there's these areas that are very toxic still from these events and that you can't go into. And it says they only know that they must hold their ground against this new environment or succumb to it. All right. So, and it kind of tells us a little bit that time passed and people kind of attempted to rebuild, but they often failed. So kind of civilizations, small civilizations are popping up and falling over the years. What is up, Scott? Hey, Scott, maybe you can answer a question we had for you. Do you know if the books came with PDFs when you bought the physical copies, or did you have to buy those separately? I couldn't find it on the webpage anywhere. Matt's been looking at them. So yeah, time's passed and people have tried to rebuild, and these kind of civilizations have kind of risen and fallen over time. And now it's the year 2595, and there are 7 cultures, 13 cults, and countless clans. Okay. And it kind of goes into, it says, which peoples, philosophies, or faiths will prevail? Those who conjure up past glory, or those that have erected a brave new world upon the ruins of human arrogance? I just love their tone, right? In the crater's shadows, something is stirring, though. Is there a future for mankind at all? I don't know. So it sounds like there's some craziness going on in the craters out there. So it's not just humanity trying to kill itself. There's also all this craziness going on as well. It says Degenesis is really about hope and despair. It's about people and these conflicting priorities of human civilizations. The world of Degenesis, it says, is like a ruined Garden of Eden, containing the secrets and spoils of both good and evil, of ignorance and enlightenment, of barbarity and virtue. How cool is that, man? I love their poetic language. It's so awesome. He says, I think it's safe to say that this is what happens when a writer gets in the mix during development. Yeah, man, no doubt. No doubt. Like I said, the writing is very poetic, so I'm going to be quoting it a lot. You'll hear it in my language. Even when I was writing my own, like, kind of comments and stuff, I kind of slipped into this voice of theirs because it's so poetic and beautiful. So you'll be hearing that a lot. So then the book kind of goes into a quick rundown. Let me show you here some more of the art. So this is right after that page, double page of art, bam, bam, right there. And look at this, just absolutely incredible. This is kind of like the aftermath of what's happened to the earth. This is kind of what things look like now. Ouch, looks kind of bad. And it kind of gives us another kind of short story right here. And then it kind of starts telling us kind of a quick rundown of what happened and where we are today. So it kind of tells us a little bit about, what is Degenesis. It tells us a little bit about what happened. This goes into it just a little bit deeper. And I'm going to talk about that now, the Echeton. This is like the end of the world, the apocalypse. So it was year 2073. So what's that, like 50-something years from now? Not far from now. It was the year of the apocalypse. A barrage of asteroids basically came down and made the entire planet tremble. And it talks about the Earth's crust was punctured during this, and it burst open along many of the points of impact. So kind of like makes these giant cracks and fissures everywhere. And so this happens all over the planet's surface, and giant clods of earth the size of entire cities were shot into the air, and these great waves of magma, rose to consume the earth and turning entire cities into wasteland. All right, so everything's just wrecked. It says cities were flattened by stone hail, tsunamis, and even earthquakes. And then billowing clouds of ash, full of volcanic ash and red dust from the earth, engulfed the sky, blocking out the sun. And this was happening for a long time, right? So this volcanic ash just kind of blocked out the sun for a very long time. And it says that mankind actually lived through this. The old world was definitely gone, and nothing could bring back kind of these good old days that everybody was wanting for. People who were looking for some type of explanation found it in spirituality, right? And it says, after all, the eschatological, I'll get it out, doctrines of the world, they kind of foretold of these type of events, right? The dawn of a new world. I think it's like in every religion where they talk about the dawn, the end of days are going to come and a new world will begin. And so a lot of people were kind of turning to spirituality during this time. So they believe that the asteroids didn't really bring upon the end of the world, but it brought upon the Echeton, which is a new beginning. Okay, so kind of cool. What is up, Mike? What is up, my dude? What's up, Scott? Just popping in. I'll watch later. All right, Scott. So then after this, the Ice Age began. So winter came, it tells us, and it decided to stay, right? The climate zone shifted, polar ice caps expanded, and the seas shrank as glaciers formed and piled up. And it talked about like harbors, what were previously harbors, they ran dry, and they are now towers over these deserts of sand and pebbles now, because it just, all the water, kind of froze up and retracted. And it talks about Europe being blanketed in snow, while Africa, fared much better. It talked about equatorial winds kind of redirected this dust wall north and south in these giant vortexes, protecting Africa from much of the harshest aftermath of the it was called Echeton. So Africa was kind of protected during this time. And it talks about over time, a Mediterranean type climate replaced the swirling heat that is normally over northern and central Africa, and rains started to dump on the continent. And so as most of the rest of the planet threatened to freeze over, the Sahara Desert actually blossomed into a flourishing subtropical jungle. So what was the Sahara Desert is now a jungle, just like a rainforest. It sounds pretty awesome. So this was happening during the Ice Age, and then it kind of goes a little bit forward for us and talks about resurrection. And it says, over time, rains started to cleanse the volcanic ash from the sky, and eventually clearing up, and the earth began to kind of thaw out a little bit. Well, the winters were still ruthless, nonetheless, and they kind of still fed the glaciers during the winter. But the summers, started to crack the ice on the lakes, and creeks began to bubble, and grass started to grow on the red plains. It talks about tribes of survivors crossed the seas of volcanic ash looking for food or firewood and a new place to live. And I love this quote. This is incredible. It says, the trails tore and drifted across the plains, forever altering more than a few who valued human life less than a full belly. So if you think about what they're saying there, they're saying, there was trails of people trying to scavenge for food, but yet my belly's empty and I don't value human life that much. And so it's like people are turning to cannibalism. And so you can see how their language here is very, very poetic, and you have to kind of read through it. It's not like reading at all. So you can't just kind of skim through this. And it talks about mankind was still infected by infamy and by greed. So let me see here. Matt says, I'll have to check back later. Time to get off work. This looks awesome. Cool, Matt. We'll see you later, my dude. So yeah, clans at this time, they started to unite, and they of course fought over these very scarce resources over the kind of face of the earth. And it says, so few people lived through the Echeton, but those who remained, they seemed all too willing to kill each other over what was left. And settlements began to flourish over time. They started building, fortress walls, and began growing in size and in numbers. And it talks about 500 years passed. And during this time, the rules of civilization were hammered into the skulls of those who stood in the way of human race, basically saying that rules and civility are out of the window, right? People did whatever it took to survive. And so yeah, all the rules of your civil life are gone. Now, whatever's good for me is good for me. And during this time, 13 cults rose above the chaos, taking mankind's energy kind of to a new and fruitful direction. So it talks about from Northern Europe to Africa, 7 evolved cultures. So there's 13 cults, 7 cultures prospered and became kind of the pride of mankind. And they talk about ships across the Mediterranean Sea and rebuilt a network for trade. And had kind of these trade routes between faraway countries and foreign cultures, and so now it is finally the year 2595, and it talks about humankind is now considered to be kind of done, maybe well off again. They're starting to kind of get in the swing of things again. But it talks about in the dark recesses of this brave new world, something lurks and waits to make its claim for supremacy. And so, yeah, mankind is kind of starting to get along a little bit better, starting to have some decent things and be able to survive a little bit better. But yet there's something out there. And then it kind of starts telling us a little bit about what's out there. And first of all, they talk about the infected. And so what this is when the asteroids rain down from above during this apocalyptic type event, they were not without their own passengers. So embedded within these asteroids was, they say it's evolution in its purest form, something that they called the primer. And the primer is like a mysterious substance which started leaking from these asteroids and craters and remained leaking for years after the impacts. And it talks about it says that from this stuff called the primer, like a black mist started to come out of it. And that turned out to be these microscopic spores, which embedded itself into any type of organic matter. It sounds scary as crap, right? So the asteroids weren't scary enough. Now you've got these spores to deal with. Well, what the hell are these things? And it talks about these spores, and I'm kind of going to read you some of the quotes here just because they're so poetic. It says, the spores unraveled and coiled in fractal loops around the very DNA of its host, adding nothing but instead rebooting its genetic code and opening alternative pathways to corrupt. And so basically these spores are wrapping around and changing the DNA. It's not adding anything, but it's figuring out different ways to corrupt the body. And it said that the primer infected, rejected, and optimized a whole new species. So this primer, these spores, started this new species, and it's called, it says it was the birth of what is called Homo Degenesis. Okay, that's this new species. And it talks about these specters began to emerge from the craters. They had pale skin and that was stretched tautly across these fist-sized like tumors all in their body, in their face, and their skulls. These fist-sized tumors. And they had spikes jutting from like their distorted bones. Their eyes were sewn shut, and it says yet they were fraught with visions of past and future. So they had these type of psychic abilities beyond any of your imagination. And these type of Homo Degenesis, they began to move up to the top of the food chain, and they're looking to knock mankind off the leaderboard. So watch out. But it says mankind is not gonna give up that top spot without a fight, right? And so there's a human resistance that is arising against the Homo Degenesis. But yeah, so this strange new beings are out there. Pretty legit. Yeah, Mike, it's badass. I can just say that it's badass. It's a slower read, like I said, because the language is very poetic, and so you really have to you read and you're like, damn, that's beautiful, and like, okay, what were they trying to say? And you have to kind of decipher it. But it's really, really nice. It's super high quality. And then they kind of talk about the sepsis. And so it says, for decades after the Echeton, no life grew anywhere near these craters where the asteroids hit. The primer, that spore type stuff, it started, it was coating the hills like a varnish, and the spores kind of carried it in the wind and the ash, in the wind and the ash, and it kind of spread throughout the place, right? And it said when humans first saw these, this fungal type infection, they thought the earth itself was kind of rotting. And so they started calling it the sepsis. And what they really were these spores and this new type of fungal. It says years later, these fungal tomentum blankets the craters. And so after years of this equal growth, kind of in like these weird type patterns, this growth and erosion, spore fields are strewn across like almost every surface in the landscape. So you're seeing these spore fields starting to get bigger and bigger, and more of them. And each of them are reaching hundreds of meters in diameter. So these things are huge. And it talks about these concentric valleys and walls kind of being built out of this fungal type stuff. And they've emerged, it says, like ripples from a stone dropped into a once still pond. How cool is that? You can almost visualize that, almost like a ripple pattern of coming outward from the center. So really cool stuff. And that's called the sepsis, like these fields. Now there's a different type of field as well. So these the largest of the spore fields, they say, are kilometers across, and the field's concentric shape becomes more clearly visible, cycle by cycle, growth cycle by growth cycle, and the field just continues to expand and get larger and larger and larger. Well, after a while, something weird happens, and this magnetic anomaly starts to emerge and around these type of fields. And so it says that compass needles will start to point towards the center of these fungal fields, these spore fields. And along with it, so when that happens, they term the transformation of that field is now called a mother spore field. And so and some crazy crap starts to happen when they turn into these mother spore fields. So guys, this stuff gets crazy. What's up, Brian? This stuff gets crazy. This is not like, oh, the humans are battling some whatever. No, this stuff is in depth, very well thought out, and very nutty. So let's go into it. So these mother spore fields, right? Well, when they bloom, they kind of give birth to these kind of, they call them dusty purple cusps. And it says those who inhale or ingest the mother spores, they're hurtled onto a journey beyond human comprehension. Basically, it gets you high, okay? And it says, traversing spheres of cascading color and finding themselves orbiting a resplendent sun made of the basest of purest emotion. So yeah, it basically gets you high, you start tripping balls, and you start feeling like pretty awesome. And it says that cold suddenly becomes bearable to you. You know, it might start ripping off your clothes because you actually like the cold. And hunger, it says, is just a dying star within the brain's neuron galaxy. So you're no longer hungry. You don't really care about food anymore, and you don't care about the cold. And the mother spores, so spores from these mother spore fields, they are called burn, okay? And they're like a very powerful drug, but most of all, they're a threat, because they kind of stick around. So maybe you're doing them to get high at first, but then like you kind of get sucked into it, because the burn burns, okay? And it talks about it seeps through the pores of your skin even, and it enters your bloodstream. Then it spreads and it consumes, it radiates outwards from the initial point of contact. So you might be able to even get this through your skin, is what it sounds like. And it says that tiny veins start to branch out, and these red circular rashes start to appear, and then they start flaking and flare, and more lines start to break through your skin, and they start to form these distinct symbols, these rashes. This is kind of nuts. It says there are 7 symbols that brand those people that are burned, okay, by these mother spores. And what's weird is each of these symbols are coming from a different region. So one symbol shows up only on the bodies of people from this one region called the Borca. And while another symbol, a totally different symbol, shows up on those who are from Franca. It says the same is true of the place called Poland, the Balkan, the Pergar, and Africa. They all have their different symbols that show up on them from these mother spores. This is just nuts to me. So apparently the spores are somehow reacting, it says, from the host phenotype and the genetic evolutionary traits that are unique to kind of each environment and to its native people. So it's basing this upon your DNA, basically, and choosing what type of symbol that you're branded with if you come across this stuff. It's really nuts, you guys. But it says, could it be possible that all 7 cultural symbols stem from the same source? And so, yeah, each type of people is branded with these different symbols, but is that all coming from the same type of source, these spores? So it leaves a lot of things open. And then it talks a little bit about some more about the Homo Degenesis. Look at this, guys. This is awesome. And it talks about this burn stuff. It pollutes, right? It's going to keep growing and spreading, right? That's kind of the goal of a fungus usually, is to spread. And so these spores kind of keep growing inside of you long after the drug's effects wear off. Eventually, the person's going to start coughing, or it says even when you're sleeping and you're just kind of breathing, then the spores will come out of your mouth and start to grow on the walls and stuff like that. And it's going to spread to others. And it says basically only fire can kill the corruption that you've kind of given yourself into. And so it says an adult's cells are completely formed. Okay, so when you're an adult, your cells are completely formed. And so the sepsis kind of eats through your cells as if you're nothing but food for a new spore field, right? But an unborn baby's cells are full of potential, and this gets creepy, all right? So it talks about babies that are born close to the mother spore fields. They're different. They're just born different, right? And this is so creepy. It says their eyes are cold and they don't recognize their mothers, but they can kind of smell the breast milk, and they eat like ravenously until like they almost like start devouring their mom, like physically. It's so creepy the way they describe it. And these babies are called soulless ones, or aberrants, or psychonauts. Psychonauts sounds badass, right? Psychonauts sound like an awesome band name to me. Soulless ones, though. I kind of like that too. So it tells us that people are obviously afraid of them, and many people actually kill these babies. But other people think that they are ancestral curses of some type, and they're trials sent by some spirit or angry gods. And so they think that maybe killing them would be seen as a betrayal of these gods, and so that they actually let them live. But that's never good, right? These are this new form of people, these Homo Degenesis people. They don't ever cry, they don't talk, they don't laugh, they only demand with their eyes and take what they can get. They do not mind the cold or anything like that, and they're crazy. And they have these different abilities based on where they come from. And children from this place called the Pollens is the name of the place. Children from Pollens tundra, they develop lumps that harden, kind of like this guy's, kind of how I imagine. Lumps that harden and they fuse into these bone shields, and they grow spurs, right? And so they sound pretty badass. And look at this guy. I mean, he just looks mean as hell. But in other areas, like there's one place called Frank, the soulless ones there, they grow glands that kind of explode out, and they exude these sweetish pheromones, and these pheromones charm their families, and they're kind of doing whatever they want. In this other place called the Balkan, the children emit these otherworldly sounds, which bore into people's minds until they reach the subconscious, and it kind of takes over them that way. Just cool stuff. In this Hyperspania place, the children can speak with other people's voices. In Pergar, dust and stone rise off from the ground and orbit these kids. The ground warps and lurches and bends to greet these kids. And so it's almost like they have power over the earth in some way. And it just sounds badass to me. These kids are kind of like the next evolution of people. And then it kind of goes into a little bit about chakras and how these kids are, normally chakras are like these energy nodes that kind of ancient kind of philosophy, where these energy nodes that are aligned kind of along the center of the human body, and they kind of form like the character of the person. And basically they're supposed to be in balance for a person to be happy and healthy, right? And I think you've probably heard of chakras before. But in these soulless ones, only one singular chakra grows, and the rest just kind of stay quiet. And so this one chakra starts to outshine every other aspect of their life. And it says that it's an endless fall into the extreme of the chakra attributes. And so it just gets really nutty, and these kids get more and more extreme, right? Then they talk a little bit about this final battle, and I wanted to read this to you just because it was so awesome. And we'll start wrapping this up. But the final battle, it says, mother spore fields are bursting to the surface everywhere. They transform the land after their fashion. In their troughs nestle the psychonauts, a seething mass of primordial, highly adapted creatures. Their number is growing, and wherever their domain intersects with mankind, more aberrants crawl from the pregnant women's wombs. They take control, reaching for the crown of creation. Humankind stands at a crossroads. No less than its soul is at stake. The Echeton was only the prelude. The final battle has begun. And so, yeah, badass stuff is going on, and craziness is everywhere. Let me click off this. So yeah, then it kind of gives us a little bit about the chakras. That there's kind of 5 basic chakras that are out there, and these soulless ones kind of, or the Homo Degenesis. The psychonauts are all the same thing, all called the same thing. These are different chakras that kind of grow out of. You latch onto one, and that is your chakra. And there's also these 5 different raptures, kind of like your the special abilities of these beings. And so they kind of go into that a little bit more. But I'll be going into these a lot more deeper in the coming weeks, or in the coming streams. So something else I wanted to go over real quick was these plants called these psychovores. Psychovores, I guess. It's pretty awesome that each region kind of has its own deal. Yeah, it's badass. And these plants started kind of popping up, and it was weird because they had these kind of octagonal type leaves and shapes to them, and they have thorns on them, and it's really weird. Like something about these plants, like if you get pricked by one or something like that, it starts to it has all these types of weird side effects and can kill you and things like that. So, and they're starting to pop up all over the place. And so when these type of plants start taking over an area, then kind of mankind kind of has to back out a little bit. But there's like a weird thing where, like, if the plants are around, then those spore creature things aren't around. It's almost like they're at odds with each other, and nobody can kind of figure out why. But it says that they're both variants of the primer, but wherever they meet, they contradict. And it says, plants not yet sepsis ends. Torn from the earth, chakra, blah, 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 blah. So yeah, it's like they can't coexist in the same spot. So it's kind of weird. It says, those who step on the plant's neural points fall into feeding sacs, getting entangled in thorny gills and drown in the influx of digestive fluids. Within days, the dissolved victim is pumped into a womb sac. And then they grow in gelatinous bubbles. It's kind of nasty. Like, the way they describe this stuff is really detailed and gruesome and gritty. It's crazy. But anyways, then it kind of starts going into these 13, was it cultures? I always get it mixed up. So there's 13 cultures. No, 13 cults, 7 cultures. Okay, that's right. So there's 7 cultures, which is the 7 symbols, and then the 13 cults. Okay, and so it kind of starts going into a little bit of detail about these cults that are out there. But I'm going to wait on this, kind of like a brief description. I'm going to wait because we end up going into them in depth. And I kind of want to go through them just because the book is so awesome. The art's incredible. I think I'm just going to go through them on stream throughout the week. So it kind of goes into these cults, all 13 of them, kind of describes them just a little bit. Some of the stuff, look at the art, man. What was this one? Do not expect too much from the apocalypse. How cool is that? Just a little quote that they're doing there are awesome. We did not know if we were still alive, Steve says. Let's see. Where was I going? And it kind of tells a little story about these marauders. And there was like these, kind of a weird story. There's like a giant that kind of goes to sleep in this area and is awakened. And it's kind of nuts. They had these shamans figured out how to communicate it with it through these like devices. And so it's listening to their they're listening to this giant's will. And it's basically saying, leave him alone, feed him this certain thing, leave him alone. And then one day he just kind of wakes up and he's like, let's go. And everybody starts following him and they just start destroying everything. And they destroy this entire city and like burn down the whole city and destroy the libraries and all this kind of stuff. And it says that the warpath doesn't end there. So you got this like giant thing roaming around killing stuff too, along with all the spores and all the plant stuff killing you. It's nuts. So yeah, awesome stuff. So tons of awesome things going on. Next time I'm going to be getting into the cultures. I'm going to dive into these a little bit and see how much of the stuff we can go over on stream, just because it's so interesting. The writing is incredible. The artwork is incredible. And I want to get to as much detail as I possibly can without it getting, like me just reading the book. But yeah, that was just the forward that I was reading for the most part. Like 50 pages of forward. And so, man, just incredible stuff. I can't wait to show you the rest of it. It's super, super awesome. So yeah, we will be back. I don't know if I'm going to be back tomorrow or if I'm going to do it on Wednesday. We'll have to see. I've got kind of a busy week going on. Mike says, good stuff, Tim. Great job as always. Thank you, Mike. I appreciate it, dude. I appreciate it. Yeah, we are going to Gamma, in a couple of weeks. And so I'm excited about that. That's in Reno. So if you're going to be there, let us know. And we'll meet up with you somewhere, I'm sure. So yeah, that's it for me, guys. I will see you on next time. Like I said, I don't know if I'm going to be back tomorrow or Wednesday. I just have to kind of see how the schedule goes. But look for a lot more of these Degenesis streams coming, and we're probably going to end up playing this Joker, I guarantee you. So we will see you all later. Goodbye.